And then another verse, and this is more than one verse like this in the Quran, whoever works righteousness, man or woman, right, or male or female, and has faith, verily to him will we give a new life, a life that is good and pure, and we will bestow on such their reward according to the best of their actions, right? So we have this beautiful parity, complementarity between men and women, and this parity also, right, on this level. However, laysa dhakaru kal untha, the male is not like the female. And so we do see that in the practical life of how men and women interact in society, the roles that each one predominantly is meant to play, right, and the way they're meant to complement each other, they are not treated the same because they're not created the same. And so men are the protectors and maintainers of women. Qawwamuna ala nisa. This is how Yusuf Ali translated it, protectors and maintainers. Anyway, there's a big discussion on exactly what this means, and of course it's
very controversial
today.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying this, so those men are the protector, or qawwamun ala the women, whatever qawwamun, again, but men have a particular role to play vis-a-vis women because God has given the one more than the other. He says strength, but again, there's a lot of discussion as to what the more is, and because they support them from their means. And then in another verse, Surah Al-Baqarah, and women have rights similar to the rights against them according to what is equitable, but men have a degree over them, degree of advantage. Again, this is a gloss here, and God is exalted in power and wise. Again, there can be a whole discussion on, the exact rights and duties of men and women. Men and women have the same rights and duties in certain respects. They also have, men have some rights that women don't have. Women have some rights that men don't have. Women have a right to be supported financially their entire lives. Men don't have that right. They have to support themselves. Men take on certain leadership roles that women don't take, like head of the household, paradigmatically speaking, also religious leadership, like leading prayer and so forth, right? So there are distinctions there. So there are areas of overlap and areas of distinction. This is fine because laysa dhakaru kal untha, and it all balances out in equity according to the wisdom of the Creator from an Islamic perspective. And so the difference in complementary nature of the male and the female, as we read, men and women are not the same. Right? There's an obvious biological complementarity between male and female bodies and reproductive systems, as we've been talking about. There is purpose. Again, this goes back to what we've said. Now it all falls into place. Purpose is inherent to the body and its functions as created by God. It's not for us to decide or assign on our own. People say, well, who cares what you do if you're quote unquote, dangly bits and all? No, I mean, those things have a purpose. You either use them for that purpose or you don't use them, right? But they are to be directed the way they were meant to be directed by God. Again, with the more latitude that the Islamic tradition provides in terms of, rapport between husband and wife. Also, pleasure is, not every act, like in the Catholic Church, at least every single sexual act has to be at least potentially open to conception. That's not true in Islam. I mean, a man and woman, they can enjoy themselves also just for pleasure. When the woman is menstruating, they're not allowed to have intercourse, but they're allowed to have other types of, pleasurable activity, right? So there is sort of this, notion that, but again, these are the limits that God has placed, right? He's allowed this within this parameter. It's not stricter than that, but it's also not, wider than that, or the other way, it's not wider, it's also not stricter. So this idea that my body, my choice, this has nothing to do with an Islamic perspective. God's body in the end of the day, they're on loan to us. He created them. And you can choose whether to obey him or not to your own advantage or disadvantage, respectively, but it's not up to us to make up the rules or to impose our own meaning onto things, because we do believe that they do have the meaning that's been imparted up to them by their Creator. Because we're not atheists and we're not materialists and we're not deists either. And so we believe that, all of creation has a purpose. Our bodies have a purpose. Our souls have a purpose. Our creation as human beings has a purpose. Our creation as men and women separately also has a purpose, right? And so this is very central.